Hello and welcome back to the ExtraTime Talk podcast where we talk football and only football. I am your host Shiven and and joined by me today is...
I am George Pavlov, ETT editor.
Alright, in today's episode we have got three main talking points for you today. We'll be looking at the Pogba, Mourinho feud/dilemma, media making some very bold claims as always. We're also going to be looking at Mahrez and how he's being eased back into Leicester, whether he'll be at his best or will he be a complete flop coming back. And lastly, a very intense relegation battle at the bottom of the Premier League this season, as always. A very intense end to the season we have on our way. So, George, what do you want to start off with today?
We might as well start with the whole Pogba thing, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure where to really start. You seem to know more than I do, so I'll let you carry on to start with.
Yeah, sure. So basically, just a quick summary. We've seen in the past 3 games, Pogba's struggled at United, and Mourinho has brought him off twice and benched him once. We've lost 2 games when Pogba's been brought off, and when he's been rested, we've won. So brings up a little scare for United fans, if you want to call it. But I've had the same problem with Pogba ever since joining. At Juventus, we've seen him as an absolute machine, controlling the midfield. And I just don't know why Mourinho's being so stubborn to playing a 3-man midfield. You're playing 2, so you've got a bit more insurance. Pogba doesn't have the pressure, the defensive pressure that he has in the 2. And he's able to be free, he's going forward, utilizing his skills that he has, commanding the midfield, thriving, and playing in balls for the strikers and wingers. He plays at his best, and that is when you see a world-class footballer in Paul Pogba. I'm not sure why he's continued to be playing as this sort of DM role in a 2 with Matic. I don't think that's the right position for him. United fans complaining that, when you pay 89 million for someone, you should have someone more versatile than that. Which I don't know if you can argue too much. When you're paying 89 million, you're paying for the best in that position. And that's what you get with Pogba when played right. If he played in a 3 with, say, Matic or Herrera, even McTominay or Fellaini, if you want, as 2 hard defensive mids, and then you get Pogba a bit forward, I think that's his ideal position. He's more creative, he's utilizing his skills, and he's playing to his strengths. I'm unsure why Mourinho is so stubborn to it, to sacrifice someone up front to play a 3rd man in the midfield, in the center of midfield. He can play as a left center mid where he can go a bit more forward, or even as a number 10 if you want to play him that far advanced. Just unsure about it. The media, of course, as always, making some very bold calls that Mourinho now hates him apparently, but Mourinho's come out in his press conference and says all the speculation is lies. We've seen some crazy reports that Real Madrid are preparing a $120 million bid for Pogba in the summer, which I think could happen. I don't see Pogba going back. And my thoughts with Pogba, we know he's a world-class player, but I don't think once has he unlocked that true potential in a Man United shirt. I don't think he's been close to his best, in fact. He's been mediocre in his entire first season. He's been out for quite a bit of this season. When he's come back, he's had some decent performances, and now he's going through a very rough time. He's playing atrociously, in fact, for Man United. We've had a few bad performances, but he is definitely stuck out like a sore thumb for a couple of them.
Well, I'll tell you what he needs to do to get him playing best every week. Just play Palace every week. Every time he plays us, he's just an absolute world beater. But no, to be honest, neither of those media stories would surprise me very much. We know what Mourinho's like in the dressing room sometimes. We know what happened at Chelsea, what happened at Real Madrid, all that. So I don't know if it's really happened this time. I don't think Pogba's giving enough of himself to actually look like he's had a falling out with Mourinho particularly. And then Real Madrid, everyone's spending crazy money nowadays. So, and I think they're, all the money they have to spend, that wouldn't surprise me if they wanted him either. And they're the sort of club that likes to buy players just so no one else can have them. So, but I think with Pogba as a position, you look at the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, who cost I think like half that price. And I think he's mainly becoming the player that a lot of people thought that Pogba was going to be. All right, Pogba's not quite the same style. But he's everything you want in the midfield. He's influencing the play. He's the centre point of every bit of Man City's attack. And with Pogba, you're not really getting that. I do think he's gotten better over the seasons. He's much more effective now than he was last season. But in terms of has he hit that world-class level he was at Juventus, then yeah, I could definitely agree with that. And I think the same, I remember watching him at Euro 2016 for France as well. It was the same then. He sort of went missing a lot of the time. So I'm not really sure if it's necessarily a Mourinho thing or if it's just if he just happened to be unlucky and hit a bad spell after Juventus. But this has been going on for a while, so you've got to question. There might be something to do with the management as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad spell of 2 years. I definitely think it's Mourinho. And why is he not playing him in a 3? He's come out and said that he wants to be playing in a 3. Yes, okay, it's not ideal for a manager to be sacrificing someone to play a 3 just to accommodate a single player. But, I mean, I know Mourinho is very stubborn, very full of himself. We know that, right? And he won't want to be making sacrifices. He wants to be the man in charge, which a manager rightfully should be. But you need to be able to draw the line and accommodate your players' views and play them in their natural position. We've not paid 90 million for a defensive mid. We've not done that. We have paid 90 million for a world-class attacking midfielder, a central mid, who I know every player's dream, obviously, is attacking player's dream, is to have no defensive responsibilities. But even in a midfield 3, you are going to be tracking back on occasion. But Pogba just doesn't want the pressure of having to sit back and start sweeping up balls like, your hard midfield, like your hard DM should be. Like your Idrissa Gueye and your N'Golo Kante. People that don't like to push forward, just sit back and start cleaning up. That's Matic, and arguably you could put in another Herrera who can be... So Matic is your sole backline, your man who doesn't bomb forward at all. He's the wall in front of the back four. You could have Herrera playing alongside him, and that gives Pogba a little bit more freedom, a little bit more creativity to, unleash. Now we've got a banging front line with Sanchez, Lukaku. We've got Martial, Rashford. We've got all these players, but we're not bringing out the best in any of them. We've seen Sanchez. We saw Sanchez against Newcastle in that loss. I thought he was the best player on the pitch by a mile. I thought he was very creative. Yes, he missed that open goal sitter. Not sure what he was doing, but he was very creative. And I just imagine Pogba being the engine in that midfield and just letting the play go through him. Similarly to De Bruyne. I mean, you see Kevin De Bruyne playing, and you just go, the balls he can pull out, or just you question where they come from. And when you see them in the game, you think that a defender is bound to intercept that. But somehow he weaves the ball creatively through somewhere. And I think Pogba's got that in him. He's not been able to utilize it. He's not been able to show it off. And I think that's a bit of a shame, really. And I think it comes down to Mourinho. So I'm going to have to disagree with you on that front. Who else is it that sets up the formation and sets up the team sheet?
No, I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying it was the Mourinho was blameless in this. I'm just saying that even before we joined Man United, there was still a bit of a problem there with his overall performance. So I'm just saying it wasn't really the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, so when you talk about playing him in a 3, are you talking about a midfield 3, or are you talking about like a front 3 with 2 wingers on top behind the striker?
No. I'm talking about a midfield 3.
Okay.
I mean, he could do a job in the number 10.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because if you've got Sanchez on one side and whoever is on the other side, I think it's Martial. I think he could be effective there as well, because he's the sort of player, like you said, the sort of player that dictates that sort of play. And I think he would work well. Him and Rashford, I think especially, would be a good dynamic to do over the future as well.
Yeah.
But I can also, obviously, it depends. I can also wanting to sit a little deeper, but he definitely needs to be a lot further up than he is, in my opinion.
For sure. So that my formation for United, what I want to see soon is just revert back to the 4-4-3. 4-3-3, sorry.
4-3. Have 12 players on the pitch. You can't do that.
4-3-3. I think that's one, and you could have a cam or 3 flat CMs, but then you have Matic and Herrera, Matic and McTominay dropping back. And that would sacrifice Mata, who I think is now past his day. I think you're getting a much better player out of Pogba than you are with Mata.
Well, yeah, I still think Mata's a great player personally, but yeah, I don't think he's as good as Pogba on his day. If you can get him at his best, I mean, yeah, if you're talking about trying to balance the Mourinho style of football with United's demand for attacking football, I think 4-3-3 is the way to go, and you narrow midfield with the 2 wide up and flood the midfield, and you've also got the 3 up top, the likes of Sanchez and Rashford when you need them. So, and possibly Lukaku as well, if you can end up getting the best out of him.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, Lukaku as well is struggling, but I think once he gets the service, he is lethal in front of goal. I just don't think he's been able to get enough chances, and I think that's been a problem, a universal problem amongst a lot of teams in the Premier League, bar City, who have had De Bruyne, Sané, and Sterling to just be supplying non-stop. I think the supply being created is a problem at United, and that's because we've got a lot, we've got wide men. We don't have that creative spark in that cam role who is there like De Bruyne, distributing the ball, whipping it across the pitch, and it's just getting the plays moving, chances created, and that just puts the striker in a good position. He's getting the chances, and I have no doubt when Lukaku's getting the chances, when he's getting 3-4 chances a game, he will be bearing 1 or 2 per game. He is that type of striker. I just don't think he's been able to really show it off yet at United.
Well, I definitely don't think Lukaku's too clinical, to be honest with you. I think we've seen that. I think that's something the whole top 6 are missing, to be honest, bar Spurs. City don't technically need that sort of striker because they've got so many other attacking players. But obviously, Aguero can do the job as well. So I think that's a problem in general with a lot of the top teams, but United especially as well, especially since they had Ibrahimovic last year, who was firing on all cylinders. I think they've missed that sort of man this time as well. And I thought Lukaku was going to be that man because he did so well for Everton. But it's clear he's still finding his feet and it's going to take more time. Obviously, more service would help. But I also think he needs to start putting the ball back in the net when he needs to as well, because he's missing far too often, I think.
He is missing, but I just don't think he's been getting the right chance. I think against Newcastle, though, he was one of our best players. His hold-up play has been getting a lot of criticism. I'm one of the critics. I think it is very poor normally, but against Newcastle, he really was quite good. He was shielding it up, trying to look for other people. We're just dreadful on the night, but hold-up play on the whole is improving, I hope. And first touch, I know he gets a lot of stick about that. That will come with time. But in the near future, I think if Lukaku is, once he finds his feet and Pogba is being able to play as that engine, that guy that's turning clogs, will be in a much better state. But I just think he needs to be played in that 3. I know you have to suck up to him, you have to give in to his demands, but yeah, I think you have to put him in that 3. I've had enough of this midfield too. It's just not been working, and I don't know when he's going to wake up.
Yeah, it seems a lot more like the sort of formation like a lower team would play for, like a counter-attacking system, which I understand you play in the big games when you're away from home, or maybe against like City at home or someone who plays such dominant football. But in the games like, your Swanseas and your Brightons that you need to win, you need to be winning fairly comfortably, then that seems a bit of a problem.
That's when you need to start turning it up and going in with some sort of winning intent and sort of going to make a statement, putting 3-4 past them. City are going week in, week out, putting 5 past everyone.
Well, at least trying to put 3-4. You're not going to score 3 or 4 goals every week.
Yeah, exactly. But go with the intent.
Still, I get. You should definitely be trying to do that with the amount of money that Man United are spending in particular.
Yeah, money is one thing, but we're not really creating the chances. We're not going to like City or even Arsenal are going to games and they're coming out. Okay, we only won 2-0, but we had chances to make that 6 or something. We are going into the game struggling to get the first opener. Against Huddersfield, I'm not sure what's going to happen tonight against Huddersfield, but when we played Huddersfield, we won 2-0, a very lucky penalty from Alexis, and second goal, again, we struggled to actually break them down and just cut teams right open like City do at the moment.
Yeah, well, Mourinho's never been known for cutting open teams, so, other than on occasion, he's never been known for consistently cutting teams apart, so, I guess that's the sort of thing you take when you hire him, I suppose. But
yeah,
I get your frustration.
Fair enough. Should we look at the Mahrez situation?
Yeah, well, I said that Leicester were good to keep Mahrez. I think it was that he was so important to them that they did. We've seen over the last, his attitude's been pretty poor over the last couple of weeks, and we just showed up to training about like last week or something, I think. But we saw last night in the cup. I forget who they were playing. Forgive me, but we saw last night in the cup that when he was really the difference for them in the whole game, in the whole team. Without him, it possibly could have gone to a replay. So I think that if he's got, I think he's got a couple of years left in his contract. I don't think his contract expires in the summer. So for me, I think they need to hold. It's good they held on to him until the summer. But I don't think they should be holding on to him for much longer. If he wants to go to City, just let him go. Otherwise, it's going to keep getting worse. And he won't keep turning up for you and putting in these performances. He's really only doing it now to try and show City what he can do and to try and get back in their team now. He's not going to keep that up for much longer, I don't think.
Yeah, I was disgusted by his behaviour, really. I thought it was extremely unprofessional. extremely rude on the players, on the fans, the team that brought him up. I was a huge Mahrez fan. I love the whole Leicester City story. I love the Leicester players, and I have Leicester as a team that I'd always back to win against, of course, against, with the exception of against United. I know I keep them as sort of my second club, my sort of soft spot in my heart for them. And I always like Leicester. I always like Mahrez, and I rated him as a player for sure. But thing is, now his behavior was disgusting. I thought it was completely unprofessional, uncalled for. We've had many players who've got moves that they wanted rejected. I know what I feel for him. I understand that he wanted to go to do bigger things. He had that sort of taste of Champions League football and thriving in it as well. So of course he looks to get that sort of highest level of football back and playing that week in week out under Pep Guardiola. Of course, I understand that, but I think you could have handled it in a much more mature way. Put a statement out for the younger footballers, not just at Leicester, in the Premier League and around the world as well. That you just don't get too big for your boots, really. Just know your place. You're still a football player. You should not be ditching trading, having a whole tantrum about not getting a move away, and sort of get together with your agent and with your manager and just sort things out. Make some sort of agreement that I'll put in my 100% till the end of the season, but then please don't hold my move back against me. And again, I think Leicester were fair to hold it. I don't think Mahrez is worth 55 million. I think he's worth a lot more. He's a world-class player, and I think the fact that he was giving it away by publicly saying that he wants to go and doing all of this only brings his budget, his price down. So I think 90 is valuation is a bit high, but I think if Leicester can get an offer for about 70 or even 65 in the summer, they should take it. Because now they're not going to get the best Mahrez back, or even if they do, it'll be just till the end of the season. But like you said, I think he's just going to show City what he can do and just get back on their radar for the summer. What did you think of how he handled the whole situation? Do you feel for him, or do you think it was justified? Or
no, it's kind of hard to feel sorry for him, to be honest. I mean, mate, this is the team that basically made you into who you are. I barely knew who he was until their title-winning season. You won Player of the Year under them, and that wasn't even. I mean, obviously he was fantastic, but that was down to the whole team as well. It wasn't just him.
Yeah.
You look at the likes of, and even when they stuck by you as well. Even when the team wasn't doing so well, they continued. He stuck by, and he stuck by them as well. To be fair, so he definitely deserves. He deserves to. I don't think Leicester should be holding him back quite like they are. But at the same time, if they don't want to let you go just yet, you're an important player in the team. If they don't want to let you go just yet, the season's not over. You should keep playing for them, because this is a club that have done so much to you. We're paying your wages. You have every right to not be happy. Don't get me wrong. I understand. I'd be unhappy if I wanted to go to City. I prefer to go to City over Leicester personally. I'd be unhappy if I didn't get to go. But at the same time, it's my job. I've got a lot of fans who love me and who are counting on me. Then I'd try again in the summer. But until then, you've just got to get on with it, haven't you? What else can you do?
But you do see the likes of Drinkwater and Kante, who played very important roles, and they were allowed to leave. So should Mahrez feel a bit hard done by?
No, definitely. I'm not saying he shouldn't be. In that sense, I understand. Like I said, I understand his frustrations. I can understand why he's upset with the people who run the club. But at the same time, that's what's happened. He's got to keep playing. He can't just, because the thing is, when you go on strike like that and you refuse to turn up to training and you even refuse to play games, then you're really hurting the fans more than anyone, because they're the ones who are paying the money and going to see you every week. Whereas the board, they can just play other players and get on without you. But the fans really, because especially if Mahrez is your hero and he's your favourite player and you want to see him playing every week, then that really hurts them. The fans don't deserve that sort of treatment, in my opinion. So, and in terms of the whole fee thing, how much it costs, I mean, this is a market where Virgil van Dijk is 75 million, and he's been pretty poor for the first half of the season for Southampton.
Yeah. So
I reckon Mahrez is definitely worth at least that, in my opinion, if we're going off those standards. But if we're going to bring the prices down a little bit to more sensible levels, I reckon something like 50, 60 million would be a fair price for him. I think Leicester should snap their hands off, Man City's hands off for anything like that. Mahrez is not an impossible player to replace. He is difficult, but there are flair players like that out there that they could find, especially for that sort of money. And I'm sure they can. I think Leicester's a club that that you could build a lot with as well. I mean, everyone knows about. They're world famous after their title win, so I'm sure everyone can see that they're an attractive prospect and they have the potential to do maybe not be a top 6 club, but challenge for trophies every year at the least. So that's definitely an attractive prospect for a lot of players. So I reckon they could invest that money a lot better. I think it'd just be better for the dressing room as a whole. So I'm glad, like I said, I think it's best they kept it now because it's in the middle of the season and they don't need to. They shouldn't be. There's the threat of derailing it. They shouldn't be risking that. But at the end of the summer, where you've got time to get normal players and let them settle in, I think that's the right time for them to go. Personally.
Yeah, I agree. I think Leicester have got bags of potential to grow into a massive club, and right now they're 8th in the table, pushing up to try and get like a Europa League spot should be their main aim to try and hit every season for the next 10 at least. But they can have bags of money after this. They got 30 for N'Golo Kante, they got 30 for Drinkwater, I think 35 in fact for Drinkwater. Now Mahrez is going to be at least 65 million. They got plenty of money, and I'm not sure how well actually they're reinvesting it. I take that back. They have a gold mine in Harry Maguire, who they spent just 50.
I really rate Harry Maguire, and I think they bought him for something like 27, 28 million, maybe even like 18 million. I'm not really sure.
For Maguire,
especially in this market,
I'm pretty sure Maguire was 15.
Sorry?
Maguire was 15, if I'm not mistaken.
15. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't know what. For some reason, 28 million bombs in my head. I'm not sure why. But this market especially, that's a bargain. I think Chelsea bought Ross Barkley for the same price. And we know how highly ranked he is. So, yeah.
No, Harry Maguire is an absolute steal. And apparently City are looking to take him as well in the summer. United apparently in for him. He's a class centre-back. And I think he's likely to get on the plane to Russia as well. If not, get a lot of game time.
Yeah, well, I reckon if he was playing for you guys or for City or someone, he'd definitely be a shoe-in. But since it's for Leicester,
for sure,
we'll have to see.
Yeah, and we've got another manager in Gareth Southgate who I think favours the big clubs and will just sort of scout out the big talents. No, but I think Mahrez needs to go in the summer though to Man City. He's done great things for Leicester. He's hitting his peak of the career. It's not as if he's some youngster who's looking to make his mark at a club. I think he's done that at Leicester. He's going to be a Leicester legend for a long time. He'll obviously be part of that title-winning squad. He's got his Premier League winners' medal to hold on to from Leicester. Very respectable Champions League run. He's done great things at Leicester and for Leicester. I think it's time for him to go. I think Leicester just try and get as much money for him as possible. I don't think they get too greedy that they sort of piss someone off. But I think once they get something near that 70 million mark, they just grab that and start reinvesting that in for the future and trying to get a Europa League spot and try and sort of maybe even get back into the Champions League one day. I think they're building a great team. They've got Ndidi, who again I rate very highly. He's been great. Vincente Iborra, another new signing who's not been as good. They signed apparently Foussini Diabate, who's getting a lot of minutes actually in the Premier League and their other team, pairing up with Vardy. Seems to be an interesting signing, again, maybe one for the future. Maguire being a big one. They got Ben Chilwell to take over from Fuchs. Got centre-backs to take over from their aging centre-backs as well. Adrian Silva finally came in. He came actually from Sporting, if I'm not mistaken.
I have no idea. So.
Yeah, I believe Adrian Silva came from Sporting, coming from another big Portuguese club. So Leicester definitely making their mark and starting to attract some of the bigger players. They're definitely on the climb. Bags of potential to become a huge team, and just really waiting for some more money and getting that reinvested into the club.
Yeah, well, I'd be honest. I'd like Leicester a lot more if they just got rid of those stupid clappers. To be honest with you, that's me being picky, but that's just something I've never liked about it. I don't think we clap with our hands and all that. But no, definitely, I think Leicester have potential to be obviously building themselves to a top 6 club will take a while. But the important thing is we said the same thing with Southampton, how they kept getting Europa League finishes every season, or at least close to that. And the problem with them is they haven't reinvested the money. They kept selling the players, but they didn't re-spend it in refilling those positions and strengthening onwards. Yeah. So if Leicester do sell Mahrez, they need to make sure to replace him. To be fair, when they sold Kante, they did eventually bring Ndidi in, who looks like he's doing the job now for them. Sure. But they missed so sorely in the first half of that season. So look, that's the difference with Leicester is they have ambition and they're not just settling for a profit every season like Southampton seem to be. They're actually trying to do a lot better, which is the important thing. So if they keep that up, then they should. I think Leicester fans can be excited for the future. They've definitely got potential to go somewhere.
Yeah, last thing, if they get 70 million for Mahrez, who do they reinvest that, and who do they replace him with?
Well, it's a question of who they can attract, isn't it? I mean, the best option is probably going to be to look for someone like Mahrez, who's a bit of a bit of a foreign talent who's not really known. But in terms of well-known names in that position, I'm trying to think of some that come to mind. I mean, I guess they could try for the likes of a Royce. I don't know, but again, would he come to Leicester is the thing. That's it's a big question. But I reckon that someone like that would be a really great player to replace him, personally.
Yeah, Marco Royce is a good shout, but again, I think that Marco Royce has had an interesting career. I know a lot of injuries been setting him back, but I think he seems happy enough at Dortmund, and I can't see him coming to a side like Leicester. He's a top-class player.
No, that's the thing. But he definitely, if they were to get him, he'd definitely do a great job for them. I think, so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, no doubt he'd be excellent. I'm also trying to think of someone. Perhaps someone like Pedro from Chelsea, if they'd be willing to sell him. I think he could do.
Yeah, that's a good shout, actually. I think, is Pedro more of a? I mean, is he more of a central attacking player, or is he more of a? I don't know. I never really seen much of him at Chelsea, and I never really watched Barcelona. So
he's extremely quick, and I think he plays a similar role to Mahrez. He's quite versatile in the sense that he can play more centrally if need be, but he's also excellent on the wing. Brings a few defensive traits as well with him, and I think Pedro just seems like a great guy as well for the dressing room. I don't see him causing too much havoc. Seems like quite a bit of a team player and seems to steady the dressing room and not cause too much drama or beef, all that stuff. So my shot would go for Pedro to replace Mahrez.
Yeah, I think someone who's proven in Europe in particular, if they want to make that step up to the next level, and someone like Pedro who isn't getting much game time for Chelsea is ideal as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So he'd be a good target, but I'm struggling to think of any players who fit. Are there any other players who fit that category as well? To be honest, but that's definitely the sort of caliber of player that they need, in my opinion. Or at least, even if it's not caliber, just someone, because you're not going to find a Mahrez every other season. So you're going to have to go for a proven name. If you want to guarantee that sort of success.
Yeah, well, in fairness, Leicester have been able to scout out quite a few excellent talents, I must say. And even
definitely they have. I'm not slating them at all for that.
I know, but you can't
be relying on that every season. I don't think.
For sure. Yeah, I was just going to say that you cannot keep relying on that. But just thinking about it, they've made a lot of profit on some of these guys. Harry Maguire in 2 seasons has quadrupled his net worth almost. So.
Yeah, they've gotten good at raising the value of players, and like I said, have played like Harry Maguire, they've been able to get for a good price as well. As long as they don't go too, as long as they're not too, trying to save too much money, and be willing to spend the money where they need to, then they should do well, I think.
This actually leads us on nicely to the next topic about the relegation battle. But just before we jump into that, what if Palace get relegated? Could Leicester go from Zaha?
Well, if we get relegated, half of that squad's gone.
For sure.
That's not even counting the fact that loads of players are out of contract, like Kabay, MacArthur. I know we signed. There's also the fact that we signed Gaito on a pre-contract as well, who was man of the match against. I think it was man of the match against Barcelona. He kept a clean sheet at the Nou Camp. But there's no way. I'm sure he'd try and find somewhere else if we got relegated. He wouldn't want to be playing in the Championship, and I don't blame him. So that's the thing that's really worrying about me. We've got ourselves in a position now where staying up is just so important, so vital, because we have so many players. The future about if we stay up, under Roy Hodgson, we've got a chance to recuperate again. I know we say that every season, and the manager walks on us, which I'm still terrified of. But as it stands right now, we have that chance because we've got a lot of players that we can renegotiate and we can. We can sort, players we can move on, sort wages out and all that. And we've got some players who are coming in the summer. And apparently, I think there's players like the likes of Amadou, who we missed out on the last day. I think we're trying to renegotiate with, try and do something in the summer. So there's a lot of potential there, a lot to look forward to potentially. But it all depends on whether or not we stay up. And if we screw it up this time, then it's really hard to see us coming back from that. I definitely don't think we'll bounce back next year if we were to go down. And there's also the fact we've got the new stand on the horizon, the new main stand, reconstructing the stadium. That definitely won't happen if we get relegated. So pretty much the whole future of the club for the next 10 or 20 years depends on what happens this season, really. So no pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Let's start talking about relegation favourites and the relegation battle for this season. What do you think? Well, let's start with your club about Crystal Palace. I don't think they're going to get relegated. They've got too much quality in their side, and they've got a good manager in Roy Hodgson. Well, not good, but a manager with experience who will be able to sort of guide them out of the relegation zone and keep them safe. So I wouldn't be too worried if I was a Palace fan. You've got talent that can win you games single-handedly, but then again, you never know. It's the Premier League. You could lose.
You'd know if you were a Palace fan. We never do things the easy way, so definitely be more worried if you're a Palace fan.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of quality inside. The problem is it's all in the medical room. Our injuries have been absolutely horrendous this season, and it's not just this season as well. It's been like over the past 3 years or something. We've been getting injuries every other week, so that makes me feel like something's seriously wrong with something we're doing. Whether it's the training, whether it's the medical team, I don't know, but something's not right there. So something's got to change quickly, because if this keeps carrying on, then we're going to be in relegation battles every single year if we keep getting our best players injured every week. So, that's with the whole. The whole injury thing is obviously not ideal, and then but I think the main difference is.
George, one second.
The next few games we've got Spurs, United, and Chelsea in that order, which obviously isn't great. But after that, I think the rest of the games after that, so those are going to be the crucial games to determine whether or not we stay up.
George, just slow down for.
Eventually we got out of that because I think we beat Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool when no one was expecting us to. So I think if we can do that, we always do better with our backs against the wall. So if we can do that then, and I fancy us, I think we're something like 27 points now. We can get just 1 point out of those 3 games against the big clubs. Then we're on 28 points. 4 more wins is 40 points there. So that will keep us up basically. But it's definitely going to be a tight squeeze, I reckon, because we need Zaha back as quickly as possible. It's a good thing. He was rumoured to be out until the end of the season. He's not, thankfully. Apparently, he's already training again. He's starting to jog. I think he's back on the running machines already. So I don't know how he does it, but he's an absolute machine in that regard. Yeah. So the sooner he's back, the better, because he's crucial.
George, just slow down 1 second. George, if you just stop for a second, your camera's starting to lag quite a lot and your sound's tripping. Wait, so just... Okay now?
I think it's fine on my end. I think it might be a connection on yours.
Sorry, that might have been mine. Sorry. Yeah, so, who's another candidate that we can talk about? So you think, not confident, but do you think that you guys will stay up?
Well, obviously, I'm cautiously worried because it's my own club, and we don't, like I said, we don't do things the easy way. But looking at it, I think realistically, there's 3 worse teams than us, and I think we should be okay. We've definitely done well since Roy Hodgson came in. I trust him 100%.
For sure, yeah. Another relegation candidate, we have Brighton.
Well, I think I'd definitely be more worried if I was a Brighton fan than the Palace fan, to be honest. I know it's easy for me to say that, but the problem with them is that they still haven't found. I said the key to them would be if the goal scorers they signed, Ijoa and
Locadia.
So I've forgotten his name. Excuse me, but the guy they brought in from the Dutch league. They're going to be the players that you need to step up, and if they score goals, then they will stay up. But they haven't yet. Obviously they've only played a couple of games, so it's a bit early to judge. Yeah. But they were a last minute penalty away from losing to Stoke, who are a relegation rival. If it wasn't for their keeper, they would have lost that game.
Yeah.
And they've got a tough run in as well. I'm not exactly sure. I think they've got something like Spurs, United. I think it's Liverpool in their last 3 games or something like that. So they need to start picking up points fast. And the problem for me with Brighton is they're drawing too many games at the minute. I don't think they've been beaten at home against the bottom teams or something like that. But they're not winning too many of those either. They drew against Bournemouth. They probably should have beaten us, to be honest. I think the draw was a fair result, but they had plenty of chances to score against us when we went there, and they didn't. So I think that's really summarising how their season's gone. But looking at it, I think they probably do just about have enough to stay up, in my opinion, because they do seem organised, and I think obviously Chris Hughton's experience in the Premier League. Would I like them to go down? Absolutely, but I think they've just about got it, in my opinion. I reckon they're a safe bet for 17th place, personally.
I do think they will go down this season. Actually, I think they'll lose quite a lot of their squad. I think Locadia will go either back to the Dutch league.
Locadia, that's him, sorry.
Yeah, or he'll go to a different Premier League club. Ujoa might. Is Ujoa on loan or is that a permanent deal? I can't remember.
I'm not actually sure. I think it might be a permanent deal. But I can't see him going anywhere, to be honest. I mean, he hasn't. He's been a bench warmer for Leicester for a lot of his career, and I don't think any team in particular is going to want him unless he really starts hitting it for them, firing for them between now and the end of the season.
Yeah.
And if he does, I think he'll keep them up, to be honest.
No, I think Ujoa goes down to the championship with them, but someone like Pascal Gross, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he deserves to be. He's been their best player by far this season. I think he deserves to be a top 10 club for sure.
Yeah, so I think
I can't imagine him staying with them.
But no, I do see Brighton going down. I just don't think the way that they're playing is, and the way that the scoring is sufficient to stay up in the Premier League. We know how much it's worth, though. We know the pressure, and some teams crack, some teams channel that and use it to their advantage. But I don't think Brighton will be able to stay up. I think they're set to go down, and I think they're going to lose their best player in Pascal Gross and Locadia as well. So Brighton is one of my 3 to go down. I think they just go down though, so I'll give them the 18th place.
Yeah, well, I mean, the obvious candidate is West Brom, aren't they? So I mean, Pardew working his magic again. So I mean, there was a story that came out yesterday, I think, about one of their players stealing a taxi. I mean,
there's 4 of them or something. Yeah, that's like Johnny Evans.
Yeah, that's not a story I thought I'd be hearing. Words I thought I'd be saying pretty soon in my lifetime. But I mean, that's the sort of stuff footballers get up to now, isn't it? But that shows the unrest that's in the dressing room. I think he's dropped the likes of Johnny Evans. I think I don't know if Gareth McCauley's playing much anymore. So I mean, what he's doing. He's slowly. That's the same thing he did at Palace. He sold Jednak, who was the biggest leader in our team by far, and this whole team fell apart. Well, he's got such an ego about him, Pardew, he doesn't want anyone challenging that. So anyone who's got any sort of maybe challenging him with his ego, who's maybe a leader, he's gonna leave out because he doesn't. What's more important to him is staying on top than actually what's better for the team. And we're seeing that now. West Brom are, under Pulis, we say was a fairly safe pair of hands, but they weren't doing great under him, to be fair. But Pardew's come in and really nothing's changed. They had that great win in the Cup against Liverpool, to be fair to him. He did well. But in terms of the Premier League, I think he won 1 game out of how many he's been charged for. I think he's had like 12 games now as West Brom or some manager or something like that. So nothing's changed. I mean, with us, he won like 5 games out of 40 or something ridiculous that he played for us in the whole of 2016. So I can't see them getting out of this, to be honest. I don't think, obviously the injury to Daniel Sturridge has not helped things at all. He was their real shining light to try and get out of trouble, in my opinion, the goal scorer that you need. And now that he's not there, I can't really see where the points are going to come from, really. So West Brom would be my safest bet. I mean, you would have said Swansea a month or so ago, but Carvajal really seems to have turned them around somehow. So I think they'll be okay. Huddersfield, a great win against Bournemouth, to be fair to them, but I think they're just leaking too many goals for my liking. I think they're dropping too many points, particularly at home against the team they need to be beating. So for me, I'd say they're one of the favourites to go down. And who else is in that battle? Let's see. West Ham. I think they'll stay up purely because of David Moyes. Obviously, the way the club's being run is pretty shambolic, to say the least. Especially they've got nearly as many injuries as us. So I think West Ham will be safe. But like Brighton, I think it'll be fairly close for them. So yeah, if I had to pick a bottom 3, I'd probably go with West Brom, Huddersfield, and I'd probably say Newcastle as well, actually. I know they just beat Man United, so that might be a bit rich. But for me, again, it's the problems. It's the people at the top that are the problem. There's clearly been so much significant underinvestment, and I think they just don't have enough quality for the Premier League anymore, which is a real shame because Newcastle for the longest time, Newcastle were like a staple Premier League name, but it doesn't look like it's going to be. I don't think they'll be able to survive this season. I just think there's too many teams that are better than them. I mean, I know as much as Andrew's going to hate me for saying that.
Yeah. No, so what I think is that I'm very surprised with West Brom, actually, and it just shows Pardew's incompetence and just, I don't know, I just dislike him a lot. Yeah.
I don't think many people actually like him.
I mean, on paper, you've got a West Brom squad that is very solid, really. You've got Jay Rodriguez, who's a very crafty player. You've got Salman Rondon, if you could get the best out of him. You've got decent Johnny Evans, who was in high demand. If they get relegated, Johnny Evans would go for absolute peanuts. I think he could go for about £1 million to Arsenal. Macaulay, you have your left back Nyom, you've got central midfielders. Do they have anyone that controls?
I don't know West Brom squad too well, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very interesting as well. But how Robson Kanu, another great player who I think would work maybe in a Leicester squad or something under Puel. Like, a fast winger who's got talent. I just don't think Apollo's been able to get the best out of players, and he's just been playing a style of football that is just idiotic. It's just not appropriate for the Premier League and just not well suited. And I don't watch too many West Brom games, but when I do see them playing and when I do see their players and the way that the team is flowing, it's just for the amount of quality and the talent that you have on the pitch, something is going wrong at the management end. So Pardew really has to step up if he wants to get them back, if he wants to keep them safe. So, but I'm going to put them as one of my candidates to go down. Huddersfield, actually, did you put Huddersfield to go down?
Yeah, I did.
I disagree. I don't think they will. I think they've got a relatively decent team, and I think they've got a team that can play some pretty nice football, pretty solid football, and they can grind out results. I know they leak some bad goals or goals that they shouldn't, and they aren't always as clinical. But I love Aaron Moore, and I think he's a great player. He's the sort of engine that can just keep the team going. You got Lauren DePotre up top. You got some other solid players at the back. You got Terence Fingolo as well. So I don't think they're too bad of a side. I think on paper they're definitely a team that should stay up, and I think the way that they play, they will stay up as well. Newcastle, Watford. Watford has taken a complete 180-degree turn. They started off the season so well in 7th place for quite a long time, just outside the top 6. And now have just been on the decline. I really don't know what's happened to the likes of Richarlison, Doucouré, Deeney, who started the season so well, have just been subpar ever since Marco Silva left. And I think that was a huge mistake from the Watford board. They should not have sacked Marco Silva. They needed to give him a bit more time. The amount that he's done with the club, and this is coming back to a bit like Ranieri, and what Marco Silva did was nothing near what Ranieri did, but if you've exceeded your expectations so much, and if you've done something so bizarre, you always have that spark, that genius in you. So I don't know why you would sack someone mid-season and force a new manager to come in, new leadership in the squad, and everyone has to get familiar with him again, new training regimes, etc. I don't know, I think it's a fresh start getting a new manager, and I don't think it's advised for a team that could potentially be facing a relegation battle. So I'm not going to put them to go down, but I think they really messed up their season this year. Newcastle with the likes of Slimani, I think he's going to be one to really make or break their season. If he can find the form that he had in Portugal, I think he could definitely be winning games single-handedly, but they're also having a scoring problem. So I think Slimani is going to be the changing difference there. So whether he can really start using his head and getting the headers in and keeping his cool. He hasn't started a game yet, right? No, he was meant to play against United, but he didn't. Slimani I don't think would be my bet. Slimani would be the changing factor for me. So lastly, I think Carvalho has done a great job with Swansea. Might tip Palace to go down,
So much Mustang up there.
Sorry, I'm going to go with West Ham, actually. I think they started off the season poorly. They've gone up again. But I do think they might face the drop this time. I just don't think they've been managed very well throughout. And, David Moyes is experienced, etc. But I just don't see him playing with the same intensity that you would get with, like, Big Sam or someone who makes it their mission to stay up and just does whatever they can to grind out results and really just guarantee you a few more points, hold your relegation, stay up, hold you from relegation, and then just start from next season fresh. So I'm going to go with Brighton, West Brom, and West Ham, all three to go down.
Well, I think I might have to take my bet about Newcastle back because I just remember the other two who were in the relegation battle, Stoke and Southampton, and I reckon one of them are going to go down instead. Southampton, Pellegrino is clearly not cut out for the Premier League, in my opinion. The fans clearly don't like him. He's not. He's taken a team that was consistently top 8 for a number of years and taking them to a relegation battle. So, I mean, to be fair, Southampton have been doing that to themselves as well because they've been selling, like I said, they've been selling all their best players and not reinvesting in the club. But at the same time, a competent manager can get the most out of them. I don't have much sympathy for them because of the way they handed Puel out. So I think they've sort of gotten what they deserved in that regard. Yeah. And as for Stoke, you would have said they were a shoe-in to go down after appointing Paul Lambert, who did such a bad job with Aston Villa. But he does seem to have gotten a lot more out of them, to be fair. And I reckon it's tough to say, but I reckon they'll have just enough to stay up. A bit like Brighton, a bit like Newcastle. Now that they seem to have, I mean, they've got Rafa Benitez in charge. Who's in all respects, a Champions League manager. Yeah. Even if he's managing, not a very well-run club, he's definitely good enough to keep them up, I think. I was only really putting them there because I couldn't see a third team that could go down. But looking at those two now, yeah, I reckon that my personal bottom three would be West Brom, Huddersfield and Southampton. With Huddersfield as well, quickly, what you touched upon is they score a lot of goals. Yeah, they do, that's for sure. The problem is they leak a lot of goals as well. They concede a lot. And I'm of the belief that the key to just keeping you up is a solid defence. As long as you can score enough to win games, then the amount you concede is more important than the amount you score. I mean, you look at the likes of Blackpool a few years ago, who scored loads of goals but couldn't stop letting them in, and they went down the final day of the season after having such a good start. Huddersfield kind of remind them a little bit. They beat us, they beat Newcastle the first opening weekends. They were doing well on the, they were doing well at the top half of the table, but they've plummeted over the last couple of weeks. And I think that unless they shore up their defence and stop leaking the goals and just get, and stop losing games, so many games, and start getting points where they need to. Because it's not like they're in the same position as us. I think they're on the same number of points as us, where they only need something like 4 more wins or 3 wins and a couple more draws, and they're on 40 points. They might not even need that. So I think they need to start accepting more points like that a lot more regularly. And I appreciate Wagner in trying to play better football, and I think he's been a good manager for them. But at the same time, if they want to stay up, then I think they need to play. They need to shut up shop sometimes.
Yeah. No, I think Stoke and Southampton both should be safe. They're experienced clubs, and I don't think either of them would go down. Just before we wrap up, George, let's just take a quick look at the Champions League games that occurred midweek. 2 ties basically over, 2 still alive. City and Liverpool both destroying Basel and Porto respectively. Class performances from both teams, both managers, kills me to say it. But yeah, Pep and City absolutely destroyed Basel. Klopp and Liverpool, I'm surprised actually that they went 5-0 without conceding. And I thought that was a great win for them. 5-0, the tie's over. Go back to Liverpool, rest all their players. Both away from home, really great results. Kudos to both managers. And then we had what were the 2 games?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say I was surprised with the Liverpool's actually. Obviously, City is City. You expect them to thrash anyone that's not, Champions League winning quality.
Exactly.
But Liverpool, I mean, as good as their attack's been, they've been a bit shaky defensively as well, as everyone knows. So I expected them to maybe have it a bit tight, a bit closer, maybe blow a couple of silly goals. But they were really, really good, to be fair to them. Obviously, Porto weren't the best side ever, to be fair either. But Liverpool still a fantastic performance from them. Unless they somehow concede 5 at home, which I wouldn't put it past them, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I still don't think that will happen. So I think it's safe to say that they're through to the next day, and I'm looking forward to seeing. It looks like the English team's actually going to do well in the Champions League for once.
Yeah, for sure. Spurs Juve, what a game that was.
Oh god, yeah.
2-2, and very surprising. I saw it after 8 minutes, and Juve were 2-0 down. I think Higuain's penalty will prove very costly.
Juve were 2-0 up. Spurs were 2-0 down.
Juventus were 2-0 up. I think Higuain's penalty will prove very costly. The one he missed to make it 3-1.
Yeah, definitely.
He completely missed that penalty. Harry Kane, another class performance. That Italian defense, that Juventus defense, one of the best in the world, and he was just toying with it really for a lot of the game. He got through, made Buffon look silly, put him on the floor, and then just put it into an open net. I thought it was a great performance. Eriksen putting a nice free kick pass, nice and composed. And I thought they picked it up really well, and that goes to Pochettino as well. Credit him for setting up with multiple plans. I think what a lot of teams lack. He had a plan A, B, C, D. A lot of teams barely go in with half a plan A. So I thought Pochettino was good on that front, and he was able to play to everyone's strengths and get the best out of them. And they didn't choke under the pressure. They could have very easily been 4-0 if they had just collapsed, but kudos to them for staying with it and grinding out a very good result in Turin. So I think they're going into they're going back to Wembley with with a big advantage, in fact, in their favour. Although the aggregate score is equal, they've got 2 away goals, so that puts pressure.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely puts pressure on Juventus to start scoring.
Yeah, and we know Juventus are much more known for their defensive capabilities rather than their attacking. So if they can get a goal, they can probably sit back. But then again, this is Spurs at home we're talking about. Anyone who says Harry Kane isn't world class after that game, need to do some rethinking. I think. Like you, I saw that scoreline after 2-0 and just immediately wrote Spurs off. I just thought, well, they've Spursed it up again. Is the classic phrase. But no, they did really well to come back. To be fair, like I said, the penalty miss was the big moment for me. I think if Juve had scored that, then I don't think Spurs would have been able to come back in time.
Yeah,
they might have gotten another goal, but I think Juve would have been able to carry that advantage into the home leg, and it would have been a lot. Or Spurs' home leg, and it would have been a lot harder for them to come back. But they did really well, to be fair to them, and I think they were probably unlucky not to nick it at the end as well. Actually.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And the other massive game of the last 16.
Yep,
Real Madrid versus PSG, and they just seem to do it every single time, Real Madrid. Though I hated it, though I don't think they played that well. Seeing that 3-1 scoreline was heartbreaking for me. I wanted PSG to go through. They've been playing such amazing football in League One. They were actually very good in the first leg of that tie. 3-1 did not reflect that scoreline. I think that Ronaldo goal fumbled it in off his knee or something. Scored a penalty, lucky. And I think Marcelo got a goal, which I was happy for because he was an absolute rock the entire game. As he is. He is one of the best, if not the best left back in the world, and one of the best of all time. He's an absolute excellent player, excellent footballer on the whole. He definitely deserved his goal, but defensively a rock, going forward a huge threat as well. PSG, but I don't know why everyone is writing PSG off already, saying the tie is over. It is far from over. They're going back to the Parc des Princes. I think they could easily put 2 past Real. I just don't see why people are close to writing them off. They've got such firepower attack. I think Unai Emery was showing his inexperience in sort of massive games in that time. He did not manage that properly. Took off Cavani at half-time, brought Munier playing a weird formation, and sort of just tried to hold off and it just invited pressure for the whole game, really. But I think they're going to go back.
I agree. I think the second leg is a really exciting prospect. The thing about PSG as well is they've got the away goal, so that's the really crucial thing. All they need to do is to stick 2 past Real. As long as they don't concede, and they've got it.
Yeah.
And they're definitely capable of doing that with their attack. I'd argue Neymar, Cavani, and Mbappe. I wouldn't say is as good as Messi, Suarez, and Neymar, but it's definitely up there in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely the best this season that we've seen across Europe.
Yeah.
So, like I said, PSG are my favourites in the Champions League. I think Man City, PSG will be the final, provided they don't meet each other sooner. So it's between either of them in my opinion, but PSG just edge it a little bit for me. So I'm really looking forward to that game. To be honest, I don't. Unless Real Madrid win the Champions League again, it probably won't be enough to save Zidane's job because of how Real Madrid as a club functions, which is a real shame. But he does seem to be good at pulling it out of the bag when he needs to, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I think PSG will pull it off in the second leg, and I think they'll do it convincingly with like 3 or 4 goals, definitely past Real. They'll be fired up for it. They will not want to blow this, especially after what they must have felt last season after throwing it away against Barca. I think they'll come back, and I think they'll hold their ground and get through to the quarters.
If I had to make a prediction, no, I still reckon PSG are going to do it. Like I said, all they need is.
I predict PSG as well to get past Real.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah. Okay. No, I thought you said Real would make it through. Real did do well to get 3-1. To be fair to him. But going away to PSG is a whole different story. They're a completely different team to what we've seen over the past couple of years. They look a proper threat for the Champions League now.
Yeah.
And I can't see them. They're not the same side that they were, particularly a couple of years ago when they won their first Champions League of the 2. They're not the same side in my opinion. So I think it will be a very close game, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I do think PSG will just edge it.
Yeah, likewise. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please drop your predictions for the Real Madrid PSG game into the comments. Leave a like and subscribe, and until then, we'll see you later.
Yep, thanks guys. Bye.